All right, so let's talk about Mr. Karl Rove for a second. The guy who brought us the president of the United States, Mitt Romney. Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. He only had $500 million to get that done. And people all over the country sent him lots of money, and he called all of the shots. And he was the guy who has the formula to make sure that our side wins. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. He's now asking for more money because he's got a new plan. And here's Karl Rove's new plan: to make sure that the incumbent Republicans, the established Republicans, don't lose again. Oh. Well, that sounds exactly like what America wants, doesn't it? That sounds exactly like, let's keep the GOP's heart beating. Let's make sure that people like Mike Lee don't get in. Let's make sure that Ted Cruz doesn't get in. That's his new strategy. Whew. Man, am I glad I'm done with the GOP. That's your strategy? If that's your strategy, the progressives will have power. Well, I shouldn't say this. Well, yeah. If that's your strategy, the progressives will have power forever, because if you ever do win as a Republican, it will only be a progressive Republican that gets in. But if that's your strategy to make sure the Republicans win, you will have a Democrat progressive in power for the next 20 years. These guys are so deaf. They are so entrenched in their own bullcrap that they don't even see that America's not there anymore. I mean, we might have been there, I don't know, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. We're not there now. I haven't been there since 2004. As soon as George Bush won, you remember this, Stu? And we got calls from program directors, and they were like, hey, hang on just a second. Don't take on George W. Bush. He's very popular. He just won. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, but something's wrong. Something's wrong here. And it just doesn't feel right. Well, what didn't feel right, and I didn't understand it at the time, was progressivism. I didn't understand what that even meant. I had bought into there's really only two choices. And these two choices are different. I realize now there is no difference between those two. There's only one choice. And they're headed towards even greater one-party control. Karl Rove defending the GOP establishment is a recipe for death for not only the Republicans, but also a recipe for death for our Constitution and our Republic. Because there is you have to get new blood in there, and you have to have people like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee. You have to have them. We should be moving that direction. But they don't want to hear that. Why? Why don't they want to hear it? Because people like Karl Rove lose their power. You know, it's got to be a very difficult thing to leave the White House and to be one of the most powerful men around and then, go out and try to find your own way, and the world changes on you. I don't think this is Karl Rove's fault. Karl Rove is just doing what he's always done. And for a while, we were all there. But the world isn't there. People, the people that want to be a Republican or a Democrat is dwindling. The people that want to see an attack ads on one side from the other is dwindling. The people who want to even pay attention anymore is dwindling. Now, why is that? Why don't we want to pay attention? Because we feel we have been, quite honestly, disemboweled, but we feel like we have no power. We don't change anything. Now, who's convinced you of that? The people who have convinced you of that is the mainstream media, which is in the hands of the progressives on both sides. And why else is that? Why else do you feel that way? Why else do you not want to pay attention? because you don't feel like you're getting the truth from not just the media, but from the politicians. And the politicians aren't listening to you. If they did, they would know that healthcare is 70% negative. Gun control is 80% negative? Everything they're doing, the people are going the opposite way. So they don't care about what you say because progressives in both parties never do. They know better than you. The people are too stupid. They're listening to all these. We're the experts. The experts, let me make a prediction. In 10 years from now, at least 50% of the universities and the colleges will be over, gone. The education as we know it is going to completely change. Everything is going to completely change. But these people want to hang on to power. And so what they do, and these colleges will do the same thing. These colleges and universities, they will adapt, they will morph, they'll do whatever they have to do, but they will not change. If anything, they will change to demand even more control. And that's what Karl Rove is doing. What is his American Crossroads? If you're donating to American Crossroads now, what you're doing is you are empowering the established Republicans to slit the throat of anybody who stands up to them. That's what you're doing. No, thank you, Mr. Rove. No, thank you. Now, where are all these people who are disinterested? They're not. We didn't stop loving our country. We didn't stop wanting to be a part of things. We did our best to play within the system, and the system doesn't want to hear it. The system gave us a bunch of choices that we're not interested in. I mean, why do you think all of us picked every single Republican? We picked them all. Did you ever notice that? We picked them all until the press killed them. We would start with one, the press would kill them. We'd start with another one. The press would kill them. We'd start with the next one, and the press would kill them. And each time we would say, well, wait a minute, but that guy, and everybody would say, well, he doesn't have a chance to win. And the closer we got to the election, well, he doesn't have a chance to win. And so we went with a guy who has a chance to win. And we had a guy that nobody wanted at first. Nobody wanted it first. Then we wanted him because we didn't want the other guy. But none of us really trusted him. I mean, I said that myself. I'm for him. I think he's a good man. I think he's a decent, honorable man. But I don't necessarily trust all of his policies. I don't know where he's going to go. You know, let's just remember this phrase. Mr. President, you and I agree on all of this. Mr. President, you and I agree on that. Mr. President, you and I don't really have a difference in foreign policy. Whew. Why do you think he lost? Because, Mr. President, we agree on an awful lot. Of course. Of course. Scared the hell out of me. Not as much as the guy we have in. I know what we have in. I was hoping we'd have something else. But now we have 4 years. And what's happening? What's happening? The media is trying to convince you one last time, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance. Red State came out and said that the Tea Party is a cancer now. Now, that sounds horrible on the surface. But can I tell you something? In a way, they're right. In a way, they're right. And this way. And this is exactly the way they mean it. If you read the article. The media and the establishment has so soiled and so destroyed the image of the Tea Party. They have done everything they can to destroy it, that now it might as well be a cancer. Because they've defined it. I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree that we have to change the way we behave. We have to change the way we might look or present things, but we must not change our values. The values of the Tea Party. The Constitution is supreme. Man rules himself. The individual gets its rights from God, not from government. The spending in Washington is out of control, and almost all of those in Washington are part of it. Not everybody, but many, in both parties.